No, please tell.
$73 billion.
Of course.
$73 billion is just waiting to be exploited.
Vision for the future is, when you get elected next year, what's your vision for the future?
So cool. You don't actually dare say that because it's cool. It really is.
That's it. Hey everybody, welcome back to a chat with Dr. Brian. The year's almost over, 2024 is coming to an end. You've had a long year, or a long 4 years. Tell us what you're feeling, what's going on?
Well, I've just finished my first parliamentary term of 4 years. Finished last Thursday. Ah, gosh, it was a glorious 4 years.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, actually. I went into Parliament, looking with great amazement. What kind of place is this? It's really remarkable. And feeling very overwhelmed, overawed, because it's very, very different. I found my feet really quickly, and I felt quite at home within a very short space of time. And learned that all my previous prejudices were wrong.
Oh.
This very often happens. Yeah. And I found some really lovely people in Parliament who are all interested in working for the common good, just at different ways, and ways which didn't really meet the needs of the people. And I was fascinated by this interplay of what we're saying, what we're actually doing, is it actually working? And of course we're perfect. And then the question of democracy. We were democratically elected, and therefore we can do anything we like and run roughshod over the will of the people. So that really surprised me and reinforced my view that we've really got to stand up as a people and demand the democracy that our grandfathers fought for and died for.
Absolutely. And, I'm curious, and perhaps our audience is curious, is there anything that stood out in Parliament for you that, particularly stood out? Any kind of things, any little stories you'd like to tell?
Oh, look, there's so many things. Look, a lot of what happens in Parliament we really ought not to speak about because it's Chatham House rules, let's maintain the confidences of people. Because when you are talking to friends and they explain what's going on in their deep heart, it's not really right to bring that out. But there are some things which really ought to be looked at. For example, the etiquette of the House, certain things like how do you behave? And there are some people in Parliament who choose to behave badly and make everybody upset, even when they've got perfectly reasonable points of view, but the way they put them across makes an enemy of the people. And I think that reflects very badly on the individual. Other people there are absolute gems. Even if you don't agree with a single word they're saying, the way they say it and why they say it the way they do, you think, yeah, I like this person. I don't agree with a word he's saying or she's saying, but I like that person. It's really remarkable. The things that happen, look, the President's chair. I've had the privilege of sitting in the President's chair as a deputy chair and acting as an acting President. It's a huge honour, actually, and how many people get the chance to actually control the Legislative Council? It's an awesome task. And looking at the Parliament from that high seat, and looking out over some very important actors on the scene, it does give you a different perspective altogether, and it's very humbling. But also at the same time, you think, ooh, this is so cool. You don't actually dare say that because it's cool. It really is.
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. And what are some of the things you're proud of?
Well, there's two main things. Bearing in mind that when I got into Parliament, I saw the overwhelming majority. I said to myself, I can't do anything. This is be 4 years of wasted time. I was so wrong. We brought out our economic report. We showed the first time ever a detailed report written by a specialist in the area, which showed that we would, if we just legalise recreational cannabis, not medicinal, not the hemp industry, recreational cannabis, we would have, as a state, $1.25 billion over the 4-year forward estimates, and we could build hospitals with that, or aged care, fund that, or fund childcare, all the things that we need to be doing, building more houses. And that report I commissioned, and I'm so proud of that report. And the second thing I'm very proud of, actually, is we got a motion passed in Parliament for the hemp industry to support looking into how we can make this hemp industry a success. Because if we simply got rid of the fears of THC, which has killed no one in my lifetime, then our hemp industry could be freed up. Do you know how much 10,000 hectares of hemp would bring to our community?
No, please tell.
$73 billion.
Of course.
$73 billion is just waiting to be exploited. And the government is saying, nah, we don't need that. Nah. The fear of THC is far more important. Oh boy, what do you think I'll be doing next parliamentary term?
Yeah, I was just about to ask you what your vision for the future is. You know, when you get elected next year, what's your vision for the future?
Well, when I'm elected next year, I'll be pointing out what we could do with the money we're actually spitting on.
Yeah.
For example, how about, do you know, if we actually provided housing for the homeless, it would cost less than dealing with homelessness. So perhaps we could use some of that money for giving homes to the homeless. We could maybe actually make modular units. Maybe we could use hemp, the sheets. They can make these panels out of hemp and allow a modular home to be built very, very quickly and not expensively at all. Would that be of benefit to our community? I think so. What about funding childcare? People are now needing to work 2 jobs, maybe even 3, to do what we used to do with 1 job in the 1960s. Okay, buying a house, for example, putting your children through school. So we need childcare. How expensive is childcare, but how poorly available is it? How about if we make it more available and cheaper by also paying the people giving childcare a reasonable living wage? Would that be a good thing to do?
Absolutely.
What about aged care? Now we're looking. Have you ever seen an aged care home and seen the people inside it?
Yes, I've worked in one. Yes.
Oh, I don't know about you, but everyone I know who's worked in such a facility would say, I never, ever want to be a patient or a resident here.
Correct.
Never. And for very good reasons. I'll not go into them because it's just depressing. How about if we actually build accommodation for people who are in the last stages of life, where dignity can be preserved, where the quality of life can be preserved, and isn't that just a function of a caring government?
Absolutely.
Should we? And do you think the hemp industry could help provide that?
That's right, they could.
What about our balance of trade? You know, the iron ore price is going down,
Yes.
and that we're dependent on that for our budget in Western Australia. What about if we allowed something like the hemp industry to flourish? Would that provide a balance? Would that give us security?
It would.
I would want to be doing that.
would.
So these are things I want to really push forward. But you know what I really want to do?
What do you really want?
I want to get the word out to the public that what's happening just now in Parliament, one party and the other party, what's the actual difference? There's not much difference.
No.
What truth is being told? Not much truth. Yeah, the truth is shaded. I'll give you a story about that in a moment.
Please
So
do.
what I want to do is put out a call for the people to actually get involved. This is your country, your state, your parliament. Do something. Because otherwise people just, I'll vote for whoever I hate least at the next election. I would like the people to be aware that everything we do matters. Okay, your health, the health of your children and your grandchildren matters.
It matters.
So get involved and start thinking differently. Because thinking the old-fashioned ways just gives you more of what you had in the last 20, 30 years. Do we want that?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
So let's think, let's get together and work as a people and really do something that will benefit our state. And maybe volunteering is one thing we should all be doing, but also getting involved in some way, helping your neighbour, volunteering, and also getting involved in the political thinking.
That's right, be proactive, I would say. So you mentioned a story.
There was a time when the opposition put out one of their motions. They're always very negative, how bad the government is doing. And truth be told, there's always some truth in what they're saying. But this one here is about the gold standard transparency. Because remember McGowan came in and said, we're going to give gold standard transparency. Right. And then he goes and names McKechnie as the Triple C, changes the law to allow a person to be named. And then a few years later changed it again because you can't have that in law still. You know, so now he's actually controlling this, okay? Yes. And then he's appointed an ex-policeman to be the governor of our state. And the police commissioner now is now in charge of the pandemic. So he can now control and say to a police officer, you can detain this person, stop him, have him strip searched and injected with something against his or her will, okay? And that is somehow democratic. Okay, so anyhow, but gold standard transparency. So they were saying each year they gave an example of where they'd actually failed in their transparency. Complete opacity, complete. Well, now comes the time for the government to respond, and a lovely minister responds. And of course, what are you going to say? Because what they said was actually true. So what the response came back was, you did it worse. You did it worse. So basic admitting, yeah, we're not transparent, but you're worse.
You're worse. Yeah.
And that was the entire answer. And you thought, wow. Oh, just a little while back, I gave a speech here about, just a speech about the incarceration of children and how badly they're being treated. And I spoke, everyone else was speaking about a point of a lawyer or a citizen and their concerns for juveniles and justice in society. I spoke as a practitioner, because I've actually served in the corrective services. I've worked at Banksia Hill. I've worked in the communities. I know what happens. I've seen 6-month-old children knowing their trajectory. It's a terrible trajectory. And how do we fix the problems in Banksia Hill? Well, we start before they're born.
Exactly.
So I gave actually a very passionate speech about that, passionate, about how we need to fix the societal problems at every stage, including before that child is born, before that child is conceived, to allow our society to recover. It'll take 2-3 generations if we do that. Well, the next speaker listened to what I said and said, well, I thought he was going to join us and be a right-wing politician, but no, he's become severely left-wing. And the entire point of my speech went over this person's head.
Yeah.
Now, I know it didn't, because that's a very intelligent, very capable politician. What he did was, he built up a straw man to argue against, that we should lock up people because they've broken the law. Now, the thing about this is, if you're a lawbreaker, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad thing in society.
But how about in 1981, it was still legal to send a homosexual to prison for 21 years. Was that a good law?
No, of course not.
So breaking that law was actually a civil duty, was it not? And Mahatma Gandhi said, if you've got these bad laws and you don't stand against them, you're as bad.
That's right.
So let's do something about that. So here we have societal laws which allow this to carry on. And what we're saying is, we're not going to fix the laws. You've got to obey the law, otherwise you get punished by the law. We're back to the first fleet again.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so this is the way the arguments are carried on. So we're actually, we're doing a disservice to the people by continuing along that path.
We have to challenge.
Have to challenge.
We have to challenge the status quo.
And that's why we need to vote for people who will challenge the system.
Exactly, because change does not happen unless we do that.
Indeed. So stand up, have your vote counted, and believe in something and stand for it. You have to be aware, of course, when you do that with respect for all.
Yeah, appropriately.
Okay? But keeping quiet and saying, well, someone's got to do something, no, fix it.
That's right. See a problem, fix it.
Indeed.
So my last question, Brian, for the day is, you've been a politician for a little while now. How's it changed you personally?
It's been transformative. All of my life I've served by working as a healthcare practitioner. I have sacrificed my life, I've sacrificed my family actually. And I got into politics because I was angry that this psychosocial situation was contributing to my patients' deaths actually.
Yeah.
And I wanted to fix it. Coming into politics, I've realized I have actually a calling to work ongoing, serving the people to make effective changes that allow our society to be better, to move into an ever-advancing civilization. That's where I feel called to actually really act. So this is why I would put the call out there. We must have change.
Yes.
The status quo is not working for us. We must do something different.
That's it. All right, well, thank you very much, and thank you. You've been listening to a chat with Dr. Brian Walker. Please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Also, volunteering really helps the whole community.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate.
And remember, legalise cannabis, vote 1.
That's right.